How we doing, traders, and welcome to the SPACs attack. Let's get it. All right, traders, welcome to the SPACs attack, where we talk everything SPAC. So, hey, if you're joining us right now, go ahead and hit that share button down below. Let everyone on Twitter know the best SPAC show in the world is on, and it's live right now. Let's go ahead and bring Chris on here. How we doing, Chris?
Hey, doing good. How about you, Mitch?
Hey, enjoying the day. One thing I definitely want to do today is before we start, I want to give a birthday shout out to my boy Tyler Hero, number 14 on the Heat. It's his birthday, and you know, you can't do better than a birthday. And before we begin, you know, when you nail these SPACs, you know, I too get this little snarl, you know, just a little snarl look, you know. Can you blame my boy with the snarl? So if you got those SPACs out there, let me see that snarl. Yeah, boy. Let's get into it. Enjoying the day today, guys. As you guys can see, want to say hi to a couple people in the chat. I see RC. I see Mark talking early. I saw a lot of people in here early. We got Caesar talking, Sunshine, Surf the Line, Serif. We got Sue in the house, of course, Thomas. How's everybody doing out there? Definitely hit the like. Say hello if you're new to the show. I always love seeing some new faces. Everyday Papa, good morning. Everyday Papa, how you doing, man? Let's do it. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and let's get into some of the headlines of today. I know that a lot of people are waiting to hear if there's anything, any news, any big news. So, Chris, take us back, man.
All right, guys. So headlines today, market hitting all-time highs, but want to hit on all the SPAC headlines definitely here. So first up, we have some online sports betting names. So I have RSI, GNOG, and DKNG. So online sports betting is set to launch in Michigan on Friday. So right now there's 9 companies that have been approved at launch. And that includes Rush Street Interactive, Golden Nugget Online, and DraftKings, all 3 former SPACs here. So DraftKings is already out with a press release saying they will offer their app on Friday. They have several promotions going on. They also have a partnership with the Detroit Pistons that they are going to focus on heavily since we are in the NBA season. And DraftKings will now be operational in 11 states for online sports betting, which is more than anyone else. So as you look for the pure play in sports betting, you know, DraftKings really stands out. I also like Rush Street here. I think the Bet Rivers brand is growing. Again, number 1 in Illinois already with that first mover advantage there. And I'm curious to see how their market share, you know, comes in Michigan with all these companies, you know, launching together. To see how that share kind of shakes out, and with Penn also involved with Barstool Sportsbook. So looking forward to getting more detail on that later on. Then our bigger story yesterday was Chamath Palihapitiya. So again, moving SPACs. So he tweeted that he was making a new climate investment that will be a PIPE. So we're not going to get a deal here for IPOD or IPOF. But it looks like, you know, he's going to make another PIPE investment here. And looking at climate investment, so we're looking for clean energy and sustainability plays. So one of the bigger movers yesterday was CLII, which is Climate Change Acquisition. No real connection to Chamath there, just the name alone, got that one moving. And then other movers also were Quell, QELL, and FAII, which is a Fortress SPAC. So my picks here are Quell, FAII, and PDAC. So FAII is from Fortress, and remember that Chamath was part of the PIPE on FVAC, which is now MP Materials. And then PDAC, Peridot Acquisition, that management team includes the former Centerpoint Energy CEO, Scott Protzak, and Jonathan Silver, who's a director at Plug Power and National Grid. So earlier yesterday, Chamath tweeted that he was focusing on materials and mining, batteries, electrification, grid level storage, resiliency, project finance, and recycling, all in that clean energy space. So he shot several of these higher. We'll be talking more about that later on as we look at possible Biden plays, but keep an eye on this because when we get the official announcement of which deal Chamath is part of, I really think we're going to see that one move higher. And then LGVW merging with Butterfly Network and SSPK merging with Weedmaps. Both filed S4 proxies, so no vote date set, but both of those could be getting closer to announcing a vote date and further details of those mergers. So keep an eye on both of those. We've talked a lot about those. And then we have IPV, so merging with Ava. This is a LiDAR company, one of several LiDAR SPACs. So they announced a partnership to work with Denso on a mass market LiDAR sensor. So Denso is the world's second largest auto supplier, has a huge relationship with Toyota. Toyota owns around 25% of Denso. And then so Ava has investments from Porsche, which is the majority owner of Volkswagen, also founded by two former Apple engineers. So IPV definitely one to watch in the LiDAR space, especially now with that Denso deal. Yesterday, we had OAC vote on that merger approval with HIMS, going to trade under the new ticker HIMS probably tomorrow. Shares were down 6% yesterday. I'm keeping an eye on this one as it is in that kind of telehealth, an emerging health technology space. So I'm curious to see what kind of pricing action we get once that ticker changes over. One of our big movers today is DMYD. Merging with Genius Sports. Of course, we've talked a lot on the show about this one. We had Nicolo Damasi from DMY Technology SPAC Group on. So Craig Hallam is out with a $25 price target on DMYD. They talk of the massive sports betting industry, how Genius Sports is an official partner for critical in-game betting, have a competitive moat, and essentially a duopoly between Genius Sports and Sportradar. They also have low churn, so they see strong revenue growth and profitability. And they note that there's an analyst day on January 26th and that merger is expected to close in the first quarter. So keep an eye on DMYD. We do have a double-digit move today. But with that analyst day on January 26th, going into this merger, we may see some more catalysts going forward and really get more color on some of the sports betting opportunities here. FSDC, which is set to merge with Gemini Therapeutics, set their vote date for February 3rd. Again, this is a pharma SPAC. I don't have a lot of color on, but we will add it to our calendar. Then yesterday we had a couple SPACs that were up huge and also saw all-time highs. So SRAC, of course, this is a space-related SPAC merging with Momentous. This is one I own, was up 27% yesterday, hitting an all-time high. Then we had NOVS, which merged with App Harvest, up 13%, hitting an all-time high. They also had an investor presentation yesterday. And then IPOE merging with SoFi, up 12% and hitting an all-time high. Again, that is a Chamath SPAC. And then one more note from news yesterday. Again, we're all about bringing the news and the coverage of SPACs. We've seen a lot of SPACs and we've seen them trade, above net asset value and high valuations. And something to watch is we have an incoming SEC chief, so Gary Gensler. He signaled yesterday that his enforcement agenda is going to include heightened scrutiny of SPACs, fintech, and cryptocurrency abusers. So again, he's not saying we're going to see necessarily new regulation on SPACs, but he's going to be looking for, abusing the system. So that could mean, maybe we don't see as much, news out of these SPACs. They're not allowed to comment during this process. Maybe it follows closer to the IPO roadshow period. So this is something to watch. As right now, we have a lot of access to SPACs. We've been doing CEO interviews on the show. So I'm curious to see how this changes now with a new SEC chairman addressing, concerns with SPACs. And then today we do have two votes set with GHIV, that merger with United Wholesale Mortgage, and then ACAM voting on that merger with Car Lots. Again, I own shares of ACAM. So those are two to watch today. So that's it for headlines today, Mitch.
Boom, boom. As you know it, Chris coming with the news, guys. Coming with some extra too, guys, like that SEC mentioned there, guys. Definitely something to keep in the whereabouts for the long future. We don't know how long this kind of boom is going to last. That's what I would call it. That's what I call it. This is the SPAC boom that we're having, guys. And so with booms and busts, let's see the wave and how it goes. Let's see if regulation comes and kind of hurts this wave. But right now, everything's still looking great. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what you mentioned at the top there. With kind of Michigan going to gambling, we can touch a little bit about that. So even mentioned in the chat, I saw a lot of people talking about GNOG and kind of what's going to happen there. And Chris, you can give us a little bit more insight on market share, but that's really what I'm paying attention to. There's a couple names in here. Right now, I'm showing the chart of GNOG. Let's go ahead and pull it back a little bit, see what we're seeing here. See if I can find where that bottoming action is happening here. So one of the things that I'm seeing here on GNOG is that we're approaching kind of this resistance here, this area here. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it in this 1850 area, $19. I think if we can come somewhere in between here and hold between 19 and 1950, we should be looking good. The volume is actually slowing down, because you saw this on this rip out here. So let's make sure that we get some volume back in this. But one of the other one, there's a couple other ones that you can mention here. There's GAN in that area. I mean, you can look at the weekly chart and that can just tell you right there. That's GAN chart. You can look at MGM. I saw that being mentioned today. So you could take a look at this one now up there in the 30s. You could also look at Penn. And then of course, we could take a look more at our SPACs that we have. Penn's still holding that 100 pretty strong, GNOG, but we could also look at RSI in this industry also, and look at this chart, weekly chart looking strong. We had a 2-week pullback period, and now we're getting another strong candle. This is one that I've always liked, and will probably be kicking myself that I never bought it back down here at 1016 or 1020 pricing. What do you think about the market share, Chris, and who could possibly grab the most here?
Yeah, so I have a couple articles out on Benzinga again as we turn a little away from SPACs. Talking with Roundhill, so the group that has that BETS ETF. The sense I get from them is, Penn National has a huge opportunity in Michigan. So Penn National owns Greektown Casino. Barstool Sportsbook is launching in Michigan, on day one. That's not something they've ever done before. They only have that sportsbook in Pennsylvania, so this is their second state. But to be able to go head to head from the start, is a key advantage, because in Pennsylvania, they're already growing their share. They have higher revenue than DraftKings and FanDuel, just, less bet, but they're closing the gap. And then MGM, so MGM Grand Casino in Detroit is the largest one in the state. So BetMGM could be a big player here. But again, DraftKings, they have that partnership with the Pistons. I think they will get a lot of share in Michigan. But I'm really curious to see, Golden Nugget Online. Again, it just hasn't been one of my favorites. I'm curious to see if they can get share within this competitive market. And then Rush Street Interactive with Bet Rivers, again, they have some partnerships with some casinos here in Michigan. And I think they could be, the underrated play here. But I really think it's going to be about DraftKings and Penn here in Michigan.
Hey, you guys heard it from Chris. He's mentioning those two names. I'm going to be paying attention to how RSI and GAN do in the industry. One of the things that I'd mention is you're not going to see too many people maybe going to a physical location. So I'd also keep that in mind. I think sports gambling has gone towards the e-platforms. You just pull up my phone right here and take a bet right now. A lot of people aren't going to be wanting to go ahead and drive somewhere, use some gas money, then pay some food, then to go ahead and do all this during COVID environment. So that's one of the reasons why, I personally am not the biggest fan of the Barstool model. But hey, in the future, we'll definitely have some people that can go out and celebrate. And then that's when I think, the environment will change a little bit there. Let's go ahead and let's get into our watch list. I know a lot of people are wanting to go ahead and talk about NGA, CCIV, some of the rumors that are going around. And also you saw a big move in the space SPAC. So let's get into our watch list, guys. Let's nail it. All right, Chris. All right. So I'm pulling up here the watch list, and I'm seeing at least on the day, of course, what? We got DMYD. I know some people were mentioning it in the chat, up about 12% on the day. I think this one's just kind of moving with some sympathy also, just in the sports, and I'm starting to look to here if we have anything. It looks like we have a Forum 8. I'll take a look a little bit deeper into this, but definitely, some sports betting ETFs, adding some SPACs could definitely push it up. So one of the things that, we've mentioned before, we've mentioned bets. So I'll definitely take a look to see what's going on with these ETFs, see if we're having adding some of these SPACs and getting in deeper into this kind of sports betting play. Let's go ahead and keep going down the list here. I'm seeing FCAC showing up here, and I haven't seen this one showing up in a little while. Chris, what's going on with this one?
So FCAC, searching for that media or tech play. Jeff Sagansky, who's part of the team that did like DraftKings and Skills, is on this. So that's one, worth watching because, heavy volume and, starting to move higher, but they have not announced a target yet. And I'm not seeing any definite rumors out there.
All right, guys. So one of the things that I've been seeing is kind of some pullbacks today. So definitely, Chris and I are keeping an eye on some pullbacks today, trying to maybe establish where we can get in at a good pricing. So one of the ones I want to mention is let's go ahead and let's get into some of the ones that are down gapping here, and then we can talk a little bit more about certain ones here. I'm seeing NGA, definitely that was one that everyone keeps mentioning. Let's see this pullback, see if we can find where we can see support and where we can maybe find some bottoming action. So one of the things that I'd mentioned here, guys, is to me this stands out immediately as kind of more of an ABCD move. If you guys have never heard of that, go ahead and take a look, and then you'll find a little bit more about that. So the A move, you got a B move, and then you got a C move, and then it gives you one more rip. A lot of the times you get this one more rip up, and this topping effect here, this is really not the look you want to see, guys. This is pretty as bad as it gets. This is called the hangman right here, and one of the things that you want to see on the next day is if it can get above the close of that hangman and the high here. And it tried to get above here on this next day here on the 19th, but really couldn't. And once it fought to get past this level up here, it really got just knocked back down towards the support. So we need to see where it can find support. I'm looking at the 24s, that stands out to me, and then back down towards 20 would get me really excited. What do you think about this chart, Chris?
Yeah, I own shares of NGA, and it's going to be one that I'm going to cover with these Biden SPACs. I think today, great buying opportunity on this dip. There's no real news out, and it looks like maybe some short sellers are getting a hold of this name. So pay attention to your levels, know where you want to get in at. But again, this is one of my favorites long term, for electric buses and vehicles going forward.
Yeah, guys. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here. What else we have moving down? And we see RMO here, Romeo Power. This is one that Chris and I have been keeping a close eye on, and we're seeing it dip down a little bit today, getting closer towards that 980, 975 look. Let's see it on a little bit on a 15-minute on an intraday look and see what we got here. So one of the things I'm noticing is this 15-minute, right? So if we just keep it tight, from this rip out, we're coming kind of right back towards this level. So this 1950, you see how it kind of ripped out from this level? And then it's coming right back to the level. So that's where you want to see the volume stack in again. The same kind of volume you saw stack in here. We saw 62,000 shares traded on that first 15-minute candle here. So I would look for something similar. I would look to see if we can get that volume, and we're getting certain volume to come in here on this dip. So one of the things that I'd see is for bottoming action is I'd like to look for 3 dips on the day. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Let's see if we can test this low right here, which is 1950, one more time, and then hold that. That would get me excited. Of course, anything that holds above 20 would also get me excited, because then we could start moving our way back up and breaking through this red candle. So definitely going to take a look today. I'll let you guys know, maybe by the end of the day, Chris and I take a position, or maybe even by the end of the show. I know Chris and I are keeping an eye on this one. We really like the long story in RMO. And Chris, you can expand a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we talked the last couple days, kind of that $20 level, $19 level. This is one again. I mean, this was like a $40 SPAC before that merger deal. It just got too hot. But again, battery tech, that's a key story going forward. They have large deals in place, including Lion Electric. We had CEO Lionel Selwood Jr. on our show. I love the long-term story here, and battery plays could be a big story in 2021. And, I was a little mad that I didn't get in before that deal went through. But now that we have it under $20, I'm definitely taking a look today. And as Mitch said, maybe we add a position in this exciting name going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Something we'll keep an eye on. And like always, guys, always do your own research, your own assessment of your risk. What Chris and I do here is we try to measure the timing, the story, and also bring some fundamentals when we have it. For me, this is kind of the thing behind the thing kind of play. And Chris and I mention that all the time, is that at the end of the day, if we're going to have all these EVs, where are the batteries coming from? You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Exactly.
they need some batteries. So I think, this is definitely a pure play. We even saw it mentioned the other day by NGA and those partnerships. So
Yep.
clear example of what we're talking about, how these EVs will need some batteries, and just look for some of those plays and maybe see if you can get some of these at a discount. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going here. Let's go back to some up move. No one likes to just talk about some down moves all the time. So let's go back to some up one. I'm seeing SSPK. This is one that we've mentioned before. The silver spike here, and that looks like a little spike to me there. Let's look at this one more on a 6-month chart. A little pulled back here, and so you got this A move. You got a B move. I think you're getting this C move here, and I think you might get one more lift up before we can kind of maybe have that pullback look. But yeah, definitely, you've seen these big candles, and then one of the things that I do, and I'll give you guys a little trick right here, guys, a little technical trick here, guys. So one of the things that you can do is you can actually measure the extension here, right? So this one came from a 1430 to about, let's say, the high here, and you could pull this high here to about 1760. So you're talking about a 3-point or a 4-point move, right? And so that's kind of what I relate to when I see the breakout. Okay, so the breakout really starts here above this 1750s. So I would look for a $3 or $4 move from that breakout. And so what do you get here from that 1750? You get a push right up there to the 20s and 21. This is how you can measure the flag, and that's what this is right here, guys. This is the flag pole, and then try to measure the breakout from that flag pole. This is technicals, and like always, guys, do your own assessment of this, but look at it. This is something that I learned, and maybe something that you guys can learn from this. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into, I want to get into an extended ticket time, but one of the things we need to do, guys, is we need to smash this like up, guys. So definitely hit the like. Let's get this going. If you guys want to see and get into ticket time, let me know in the chat, guys. All right, guys, so one last stock we'll take a look at before we get into ticker time is let's take a look here at the chart. I'm seeing CTAC there. This is one that I have, guys. I want to give you guys full disclosure. One that I'm watching, one that I've mentioned also on our $10 to $11 show. And this is what's getting me excited, guys, is what do we like to see, guys? Sideways action above 10. So one of the things that I'm noticing is that I'm starting to see this sideways actioning up here at 10, starting to see some volumes getting in here. And I'm getting excited because I heard potentials of Inseego getting buyouts. I've heard a bunch of different rumors in 5G. So I'm super excited. Have you heard anything about this company, Chris?
I haven't heard any definite rumors yet, but I loved that play that you had on that, and it's one I'm definitely watching too. Around this 1050 level, I love the management team, and think it's going to be a huge 5G play going forward.
Definitely, guys. And so just full disclosure, I try to give you guys literally more than most will. I'm literally in CTAC exactly at that 1030 pricing. Reason why is I kept seeing the bottom off of that 1030, and look at the chart, guys. So I kept seeing this bottom action every time we came up. We would come kind of close towards this 1040 and 1030 area. So that's where I kind of measured in my pricing, and where I'm in right now, just kind of hanging out, and we'll keep it waiting. One of the things that I've noticed, Chris, and maybe you can kind of expand on this, is that a lot of times before we were able to maybe get in these like when the announcement happened, and like jump on it and then just ride the horse. But right now, at least I'm seeing, is that a lot of the times if you're trying to grab it when it's spiking, it's going to be very, very hard to get into. And I'm starting to notice that, hey, some people got in and learned the bell a little early and learned the trick. So with patterns, the patterns change. And so one thing I'm trying to do now is try to be a little bit more anticipatory than try to be more reactive to the announcements. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, if unless if it's a Chamath or a deal like Lou said with CCIV, some of these deals, if you're buying in when it's announced, you're probably too late. And then we're seeing these huge spikes on announcement, and then we're seeing them fall back down the next day. So pay attention to that net asset value level of 10. Get into some of these SPACs between 10 and 11. Pay attention to the management teams, and if you see any rumors, a lot of times these rumors that we're bringing you from Bloomberg and other sources end up being true. But again, know your risk limit, but don't go chasing on deal announcements. So definitely something to watch.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's get into the main part of today's show. Before we hit the ticker time, I know that everyone's getting excited, hitting those likes. I'm seeing them jumping. Don't worry, I see you guys hitting them likes. All right, let's get into, one of the things that I'm noticing is, as we had mentioned already, the inauguration going on. So I'm going to take a look here at the SPY. Look at the SPY, guys. We're looking good. We're looking good today. This is a good chart. Starting to push above this high, and let's see what happens today. So, Chris, take us into some of these Biden SPACs and unlock it, please.
All right, guys. So one of my big focuses is about story. So with SPACs, talking about the story and the catalyst. So here we have Joe Biden being sworn in today as the 46th president of the United States. So it's time to take a look at some SPACs that could benefit from Biden and his new policies and focus areas. So back on election day, I discussed 7 SPACs to watch. Those were RIDE, RIDE, SBE, FSR, FVAC, which is MP now, DMYT, which is RSI, IPOC, which is CLOV, and PIC, which is XL. So I picked those because of the story. So it was electric vehicles, some gambling ones, because we also had that on the ballot. So these were all related to the election, and they all ended up being winners, from when I called those out on election day. So, not that I'm going to be right in every case, but if you look at the story, look at the catalyst, a lot of times you can get these SPACs before they start moving. or moving higher in the case of some of these announced deals. For Biden SPACs, what I'm targeting first is charging infrastructure. So 3 names to watch there are SBE, TPGY, and NBAC. So Biden's calling for 500,000 charging stations, and that's a key in the continued adoption of electric vehicles. So I own shares of SBE, which is merging with ChargePoint. And then I'm also watching TPGY, which is the European charging play that could quickly grow in the US. And then NBAC merging with Nuvve, which has vehicle to grid technology. So that's 3 plays. Again, they already have announced deals, so they are trading at premiums. But I really think charging infrastructure is going to be one of the keys going forward. And Biden is going to continue to talk about that, and you're going to see these SPACs move on news. And the next story for me is electric buses. So for this, we have NGA and ACTC. So Biden's talked very vocally about adding electric buses, going to zero emissions. For that reason, I own shares of NGA merging with Lion Electric. And I also think ACTC, which recently announced their merger with Proterra, should be watched as well. Remember, ACTC was one of our earlier Biden picks in December. They have Audrey Lee as a member of the team. She was the co-chair of the Clean Energy for Biden organization. So that's definitely something to watch. That could be a benefit to that deal with that relationship with Biden. So electric buses, again, second story for me. And then looking at just some SPACs that have sustainability or clean energy, as their focus. I have a couple that I've been watching recently. So up first, we have PDAC. So this is Peridot Acquisition. I talked about this one connected possibly to that Chamath PIPP. So the team includes former CenterPoint Energy CEO and then Jonathan Silver. So Jonathan Silver is a director for Plug Power and National Grid. He also served as the executive director of loan programs under the Obama administration, leading the government's $40 billion clean energy efforts. So PDAC, definitely one to watch in that sustainability field. And they do have some connections to the Obama administration, which, as we know, President Joe Biden served as vice president under that administration. So there could be a connection there. Then we have SV. So this is Spring Valley. This is a newer one on my watch list. So they're targeting sustainability, clean energy and storage, smart grid, environmental services and recycling, mobility, and water/wastewater management. So all key areas of focus in that clean energy and sustainability, field, which again, to me, is one of the biggest stories going forward. Another one to watch is SOAC. So this is Sustainable Opportunities Acquisition Corp. They have an ESG target, and they've said that they want to get a deal completed in 2021. I am now long shares of SOAC. This was a recent buy for me. I think they're going to complete a deal sooner than later. They have started picking up on some chatter on Twitter and elsewhere that a deal could be close. And given that they are targeting, sustainability, I think this is one that could move on that deal announcement. Then we have FSR, so Fisker. This is another one that I own. It's a favorite play here for me in the electric vehicle space. Biden is all in on electric vehicles. Fisker's targeting a rollout of electric vehicles in late 2020 or 2021. They'll be only the second, U.S.-based pure play electric vehicle company behind Tesla. We could see tax credits and cash for clunkers extended to electric vehicles this year, which helps a company like Fisker going forward. I think that's a big story with the Biden administration. Other EV names that I'm watching also include Hyliion, HYLN, GIK, which is Lightning E-Motors, XL, and Ride. I am long shares of HYLN and GIK. Then another area I want to look more into is solar. So we have ALAC, which is merging with SolarMax. Solar could be a big story for the Biden administration. I'm also a fan of the Array Technologies, which was an IPO earlier this year, ARRY. That is not a SPAC, but a solar name that I like. Then we have PIPP. So this is Pine Island Acquisition. This is one we called out in December, again, as a Biden play. direct ties to Biden. So this SPAC, PIPP, has 4 former senators, the former minority leader, and former undersecretary of defense for policy under Barack Obama. The team also has Tony Blinken and General Lloyd Austin, who are Biden's picks for Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. So again, both are expected to step down if sworn in, but the connections here are huge on this one to the Biden administration. So we might not get a clean energy play. It might be more of a government or defense company. But again, talking Biden SPACs, PIPP has to be on the list, with those ties there. And then another one that I'm watching is SNPR, which is the same team that brought Helion public. So I'm keeping an eye on that one as well. So for me, the story here is playing the existing electric vehicle SPACs and charging names, and then looking for SPACs that are targeting sustainability and clean energy. So with these EV names, you're going to pay a little bit of a premium because we already have deals closed or we have pending deals. But the long-term story for EVs is not over. It's just beginning. The Biden administration, again, is all in on electric vehicles, and that was the big story in 2020, but it's going to continue going forward. But for me, one of the bigger stories is clean energy and sustainability. We haven't seen as many of these names go public via SPAC, but I think that changes in 2021. So I'm going to be doing more and more research on clean energy and sustainability focused SPACs with great management teams and bringing them to you guys on the show. But those were a couple of the ones that I'm really watching today. So that's what I've got, Mitch, for that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to take it back a little bit here and go through some of these and how I'm looking at these. So first things first, let's start near the top. Definitely, if you guys haven't seen that show where Chris talked about these Biden plays. This was on election day. That we did this. So if you look back, I mean, hey, we try to get you the story early here at Benzinga, and that's really what we're all about, is trying to get you the information that you guys need to make the informed trades. That's why Chris and I do what we do every single day. So I look at, charging infrastructure, definitely one that you got to keep an eye out. Whether it's going to be that there'll be a leader in there or it'll be kind of more of an even split, which still remains to kind of be seen. But definitely, I agree with Chris. You got to look out for, let's say, if Biden really starts giving maybe some tax credits here or something like that. What I always say is, there's 2 major things that move the market, guys. So there's fiscal policy and there's monetary policy. And you have to pay attention to both, guys. So we'll definitely be paying attention to also electric buses. Same kind of thing. Look for those tax credits to really push these companies to be faster to kind of the demand that's needed. And I'm looking at both of these companies, NGA, ACTC. We'll keep an eye on both of these, but at the end of the day, electric buses just sounds to me like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with those big old diesel buses and waiting for the school bus. Chris, I don't know. Did you go through that life?
I never was a bus rider, but I definitely saw a fair share of those, big yellow buses. And, I'm happy to see them replaced in the future. So
Definitely, it'll be cool to know that our future generation will have that story of the smog that you see in even some of the cities. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to California, LA, but we definitely need to start making the way towards kind of greener moves. And then let's go into one that I've actually mentioned this morning. So I want to pull up the chart of Fisker here and point to what I like on Fisker's chart. Let's pull up the chart here on a daily. I think the daily is going to give us the best look. So here's the daily approach that I'm looking at, guys. So kind of we can decide here. So one of the things that I saw is that we kind of got this A, B, C, D move, right? Classic move that we've been seeing here, and now we need to see a couple bottoming actions. So we got this bottoming action somewhere here in between this $14.90, $15. Then we come back here. We bounced up, come back down. Another bottoming action here in this 14.90s, 15 areas, and then we get a bounce up again, and then we get another test in this 1490 area, 1470 area. I want to see if we can hold this today, you know, because really, if we crack down, we could easily drop down towards this 13. But I was really getting interested in this chart today as I see it getting down to the 1475s and the 1450 area, because you could base it off of this high right here on this candle from the 9th. And so definitely, you know, I'm seeing this chart start leveling out. It's getting me interested, you know, with some of the things that Chris mentioned. You know, it has this story. So to me, it's going to be all about timing the technicals and then seeing if you can get in at a good discount price so that you can give yourself the best risk to return. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely getting interested in this one. Full disclosure, no position right now, but when the charts speak, they speak. And one of the things that I noticed also, guys, is by Benzinga Pro, you would have got this alert here. It's unconfirmed yet, but they're looking at 13 days from now, kind of those earnings coming out. And one of the things that I look for, guys, and this is the common thing you'll see, is run-ups before going into the earnings. And so, hey, 13 days out, maybe we get some bottoming action today. Maybe some bulls start taking control, and you could see this one get right back up going into that earnings report. So that's what I'm keeping an eye out for. All right, guys, let's get into the ticker times. Put those tickers in the chat. Want to go ahead and get through this. I'm seeing so many people mentioning stocks, so let's go ahead and get into some of these. Chris, is there anything that's any of these tickers that are on your mind?
No, I'm seeing people drop a lot of tickers related to Biden plays. Again, I couldn't touch them all today, guys, but we will be doing more shows on clean energy and sustainability. So keep those tickers coming. We'll try to highlight more going forward. But yeah, go ahead and drop those tickers in the chat for what you want covered today.
All right, guys, seeing a couple of stocks mentioned here. So let's start running through some of these. Okay, I'm going to scroll up a little bit, get started on this. I don't think we take a look at the ACTC chart today. So snap, crackle, pop. Let's do it. Let's take a look here. ACTC. Let's take a look at that chart, see how it's doing today, see how we see this one performing. Man, can you get a bigger gap? Look at this gap, guys, from the 11th to the 12th. What was that news that it was announced there, Chris?
So that was the merger announcement with Proterra right there.
Boom. You see the gap there, guys. And this is why we always talk about how, you know, if you get yourself close to the $10 level, you can maybe measure your risk down here and wake up one day and be like, oh, man, we're up there in the 20s. All right.
When under $11 when we talked about it being a Biden play. I mean, again, those levels between 10 and 11 are so important. So important.
Yep, definitely, guys. So one of the things I'm seeing is this one got up to 30 and quickly turned around. Really ugly candle on the 19th, so definitely pay attention to that. I think if we can't get above that 30 or get some volume to come back in, you saw a lot of volume jump in there on that first day move. So I need to see some volume get back into this. We saw right here, you got 58 million shares traded. And then what's happening now, guys? 10 million, 8 million, 7 million. 7 million, and then only 2 million shares traded. So we need to get back above there. I want to see like 15, 20 million at least before I get excited about maybe this one's finding some pullback. All right, guys, let's keep going through the chat, seeing some other tickers mentioned here. So if you got a ticker, put it in the chat. Let's keep rolling here. All right, so seeing DM mentioned here by Everyday Papa. Everyday Papa. I love it. I love it. Let's get into this. What's up with DM, Chris?
Yeah, so Desktop Metal, you know, again, big fan here. Long-term story, 3D printing. They just acquired a company. You know, this is a long-term, you know, one that I think I'll be looking to buy on dips. I wanted to get it below 20, but it started running up. Now it's getting a lot of attention on CNBC as well. And it was added to one of Kathy Wood's ETFs, so not the main ARC ones where we get those everyday alerts, but she has a 3D printing ETF and it is in there. So that could be causing part of that movement up along with that acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. Going to keep an eye on this one. I think you have to watch for the whole industry. Be careful with this one. I think it's just, to me, just really extended. I personally don't like buying these up there at the 20s unless I kind of can really see the value of the company being, let's say, $50 or something like that. Not that I don't see Desktop Metals being worth that. It's just more of the matter. It's just more of a matter of always where your entry is going to be. And so, if your entry is going to be near highs, you don't give yourself much an ability for a pullback. So, to me, this is a no trigger pull for me. So let's keep going here. Seeing in the chat a couple of them mentioned here. Let's keep rolling. No, we're not going to do other names here. Let's keep rolling. I got ACAM here by Kenny. Hey guys, go ahead and let's go into ACAM here.
Yeah, so ACAM merging with Carlots. That deal vote is expected today. This is one I own. I'm curious to see what kind of action we get after this deal, as again, we've seen these SPACs fall post-merger vote. But in the online car buying space, I think they do have the best long-term potential. They have the highest gross margins and the lowest acquisition cost for users. So again, we've seen Carvana, Shift, some of those other players there. I think that's a big story going forward, but pay attention to how this one reacts from the vote today.
All right. Seeing a real popular one here, smashing up the chat here. So I'm going to give everyone a shout out here. Stop for no APAX. This T Madaz. We got Richard with APAX and some others. So definitely, if you wanted APXT, there you go. Even the Choo Choo Train is on that one. I can't blame him. So APXT. Let's take a look here, guys. All right, guys. So one of the things that I'm seeing on this one is, hey, there's some waves in this game, right? It's not just straight up, guys. So one of the things that I'd mentioned on this one is that you're seeing that kind of that one up, that one down, two up, two down, three up, three down. Let's see if we can get some support here somewhere in this $15 area. Let's see if we can, hold this high over here. If we can get over this kind of like 1530 area, it'd be interesting for me. Just to kind of point out, definitely would take a look at that to see if we could get this kind of action right here to kind of hold there, So definitely pay attention here, see if we can get this action to hold there and get some volume in on APXT there. All right, guys, let's keep rolling here. I want to do one or two more from the chat here. Seeing BFT by Michael. Definitely, let's take a look. It is gapping up. So, Michael, I give you that shout out. Definitely, BFT. What's up with BFT, Chris? Anything new, or is it just kind of just moving along?
No, BFT is still moving along. It has been getting some coverage on CNBC. One of the people on there really loves this. Said that it can triple from here. So it's starting to move now on that coverage. Again, pay safe. I'm a believer in the long-term story, but curious to see, how the pricing works out on this one because it's starting to kind of, move much, much higher here.
All right, guys. Of course, I think we saw this closing here, GHIV, so we could pull this one up here. What's going on with GHIV, Chris?
So GHIV falling today, again, that vote. We've seen this where these mergers, the votes happen and then they fall after. The run up is going into the vote. That's normally, one of the biggest price increases. GHIV, United Wholesale Mortgage, the largest SPAC deal done at a $16 billion valuation. Shareholders of GHIV are only getting 2.6% of the new company. I think that's something really to pay attention to. And the valuation here. So with shares over, $12, this is more like a $20 billion company now. So pay attention, don't get caught up chasing this one, going higher.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually, full disclosure, I'm in the other one that's in this sector, guys. So RPLA, Finance of America, that's the play that I'm in, guys, and that's kind of the way I'm approaching this is a long-term kind of SPAC play. So yeah, you got to keep your eye on all these. In the one outside of the SPAC, RKT. We mention it all the time on pre-market prep, but you got to keep your eye on these and see if they're going to turn around and start ripping. I think, one of the things that I'm watching for is actually to see if RKT can cause these other two SPACs to move. RKT has been getting pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back, and hasn't ripped out. So when that rips out, I'm going to keep a close eye on these two positions to see if they follow also. I'll just put up the chart of rockets so you guys can see how it's been just kind of leveling out, leveling out, leveling out. Let's wait for this rocket to get that rocket, to get that move, and then once that starts happening, you could look at some other plays in the industry and maybe they start moving. So one of the plays that I always talk about is the laggard play, guys, that's looking for moves that come off based off of sympathy from another story. You see this always happen. Let's say like the SRAC, an MPA move, the same kind of move there. That's moving off of sympathy based off the industry. And then you could look for laggard plays that could basically move off of that. I saw one, I think it was it was a satellite company. Did you see one of these satellite movie companies move, Chris? Yesterday off of the Space News. I know that I had it.
Is it a SPAC or something else?
No, it was it. Oh, I got the ticker here. It's GILT.
Oh, yep.
So this is a satellite company, guys. You guys heard me talk about satellite companies in space. So this is one that I'm keeping an eye out, guys. This is GILT, and look at that spike yesterday, guys. 8 million shares traded. I'm gonna be looking for this one to pull back closer towards 8 and 850s, because I think that move was a little bit just overexcited. So I'll look for it to get into that gap. And then I'll kind of keep an eye on these. A lot of space plays, a lot of industries moving, and so with these, you got to follow the story, right, Chris?
That's right.
So, is there any story that's standing out to you right now, Chris, that you want to keep your eye on out?
No, the big story for me here is the Biden plays, the clean energy and sustainability. And then out in, SPAC land, the other big story for me is, finding those SPACs between 10 and 11, or, even buying the unit when they first IPO. So you get the common shares and the warrants eventually. We'll hit on that on a future show. But yeah, pay attention to your levels. There's a lot of premium valuations out there. Don't get caught chasing some of these momentum names. So, and as Mitch said, maybe look to the competitors or the, peers in the group. On Benzinga Pro, we have a great tool there where you can see, the peer group companies right there on it. So pay attention to some of those because sometimes people may not be aware and it might not have run up yet along with the rest of the stocks in the industry.
Definitely couldn't say it better. Like always, guys, if you want your free 2-week trial of Benzinga Pro, look in the description below. You guys can go ahead and do that. You don't even need a credit card. I'd also let you guys know if you haven't seen the SPAC swag or our swag stores, look in the description below and go check out the swag. I'm doing some buying here myself, guys. I'm getting some swag. It should be here soon. I'm sending Chris some swag, so we'll be looking good and definitely seeing with you guys and growing. So definitely, if you guys have a topic that you guys want to see, a SPAC that you guys want to see coverage, or maybe an expert or executive that you guys want on our show, let us know in the comments because Chris and I look every single day on how we can keep growing with you guys. So smash that like button and we'll see you next time on the SPACs. Attack, baby.